Alright, so for our first destination, we're going to head over to Scotland. Now this summer I did a road trip around Scotland and I went to the Isle of Skye. It's the greenest place I've ever been. I felt like I was on a giant golf course with some wicked rock formations. One of my favorite places in Scotland is the Old Man of Storr. It's a spectacular rock formation that looks something out of a fairy tale. Another beautiful place is the Glenfinnan Viaduct. You may have seen it before in the Harry Potter films. It has this beautiful train that goes across it. I mean, it's just such a stunning place there. The main town of Edinburgh is an amazing place too. I felt like I went back in time as I was walking down the cobblestone streets there. One of my favorite things I did in Edinburgh was hike to Arthur's Seat in Holyrood Park. It was extremely windy, but I got a wonderful view of all the city. I definitely recommend visiting Scotland if you want to go back in time and feel like you are in a fairy tale.
9.
Head down to Brazil to visit Rio de Janeiro. Now Rio is one of my favorite cities that I've ever visited. It's home to beautiful beaches, massive granite mountains, and an energetic culture. One of the most famous places in Rio is the iconic Christ the Redeemer. It's this massive statue that is over 125 feet tall. When I was there, I was able to get some unique 360 shots and got some beautiful views of Rio. There are also some amazing beaches. One of Rio's most famous is the Ipanema beach. Before visiting Rio, this is what I imagine Brazil to look like. It's just a scenic beach that has so much energy. One of my favorite lookouts in Rio is the Mirante Dona Marta. Now it's this amazing lookout that has some of the best views of the entire city. I went there for sunrise and got one of my all-time favorite time lapses over the Sugarloaf Mountain. If you go to Rio next year in February, you can also experience the iconic Carnival Festival. It's one of the most wild celebrations I've ever experienced. So such a cool place. Make sure you add Rio to the list.
8.
Head down to Greece to visit the mystical town of Meteora. Now Meteora is known for its ancient monasteries that are built upon massive rock pillars. Me and my brother went there about 2 years ago. We made the 4-hour drive from Athens all the way to the small town of Meteora. I felt like I was on the set of Game of Thrones, just waiting for a dragon to pop out of nowhere. I was stunned by just the massive rocks and the overall scenery there. The monasteries were just mind-boggling. I can't believe how they were built in the 15th and 16th centuries. Like, how is that even possible? If you want, you can go into the monasteries for just like a few euros. When me and my brother went there, we had really foggy conditions that made the whole place feel magical. We had such a good time running around the rocks and taking in the beautiful scenery. It's one of the most enchanting places I've ever been, so make sure you add that to your post-corona travel list.
7.
We're going to head over to Spain to one of my favorite islands ever, Ibiza. Now while Ibiza is known for its crazy nightlife and party scene, it also has some of the world's best beaches and cliff jumping. So me and my brother had the crazy idea to go there during Halloween, because why not? We spent the first few days exploring the island and I was honestly pretty disappointed because I couldn't find any cliff jump spots. But on our last day, we had a few hours before our plane was about to take off and we found this secluded cove that had some prime cliff jumps. So we hiked down and made sure the water was deep enough. We found this perfect cliff and I threw some jumps off it, and my brother did a wild double backflip off the cliff. It's one of my favorite travel memories. Whether you want to go to Ibiza for cliff jumping or partying it up with Kygo, it's one of the most entertaining places to visit.
6.
To the USA to visit one of my favorite places, Zion National Park. Now Zion is out of this world. Pictures and videos don't do it justice. It's home to steep red rock cliffs that are thousands of feet high. I mean, they're just hard to believe. One of my favorite and most famous hikes in Zion is the hike to Angel's Landing. So it's about a 5-mile round trip hike that's famous for its sketchy chain trail that leads to the top of Angel's Landing. I recently did the hike. We crossed the bridge over the Virgin River and you'll head up the trail. We went up some steep switchbacks. We went through a small canyon and did even more switchbacks until we reached the top before we started Angel's Landing. Angel's Landing is famous for its 1,000-foot drop-offs and cliffs that lead the way. I did the hike in wintertime, so it was a little icy, but I brought my 360 camera so I could get every possible angle on the trail. I was able to reach the top and the view blew my mind. I was able to see all of Zion's Canyon. I mean, it was surreal. I will say the trail was pretty crowded, so be prepared for lots of people if you do it. Now, while we're still in Utah, we're gonna head over to Iceland Now known as the land of fire and ice, Iceland offers some of the world's most unique landscapes. It's home to massive waterfalls, glaciers, and out of this world scenery. It's a popular filming destination for blockbuster movies such as Interstellar and Star Wars. Me and my brother got to go there in November for just a few days. We flew into Reykjavik and got our rental car and headed out to explore Iceland. One of our first stops was the Skogafoss waterfall. It's probably Iceland's most popular waterfall. We had a good time just walking around and getting some really cool shots. After, we headed over to the Reynisfjara beach. Probably said that wrong. I like to call it Black Rock Beach because it's easy to say. They have these really cool sea pillars in the ocean, and then the beach is just full of these tiny black pebbles. I mean, we were only in Iceland for a short amount of time, so we couldn't see more, but I definitely got to go back after this whole quarantine to go check it out.
4,
Head over to the nearby California to visit Big Sur. Located on the Pacific 101 highway, Big Sur is one of America's most scenic drives, known for its winding turns, seaside cliffs, and views of the misty coastline. One of the coolest places in the Big Sur is the Bixby Creek Bridge. It's one of California's most photographed bridges, and you'll understand why when you get there. Just so freaking cool. Big Sur is also home to the Midway Falls, which is an 80-foot waterfall that falls onto the beach below. If you're looking for a post-quarantine road trip, you gotta take a ride to Cali's coast.
3,
To the Middle East to visit Dubai. Now, Dubai is one of the strangest places I've ever been. It's basically what happens when a city has a blank slate and limitless budget to make some of the craziest buildings and structures in the world. It's home to the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building at 2,722 feet high. When I was there, I went to the top 124th floor, the highest you can go as a tourist. And anyways, you'll ride up on one of the world's fastest elevators. I got an awesome time lapse of Dubai's craziest highway roads. After, I headed down to the bottom to watch the spectacular Dubai fountain show, which happens pretty much every day. It's such a cool experience. I had such a great time walking around enjoying the light show on the Burj Khalifa. You're going to be blown away. If you want to experience the beach and Persian Gulf, I'd recommend the Jumeirah Public Beach. It has an awesome view of the Burj Al Arab, which is considered one of the only 7-star hotels in the world. I had such a good time running around the beach and enjoying the incredible surroundings. One cool thing I did when I was in Dubai was a desert safari. So we went out to the middle of the desert and got in some cars and rode the dunes to our spot. It was a little sketch, but I had such a good time watching the sunset and experiencing the crazy deserts of the UAE.
2,
Head over to the Bonneville Salt Flats. Now, the Salt Flats are located about 2 hours from Salt Lake City. The Salt Flats are one of the craziest locations in Utah, and if not the world. It's basically 30,000 acres of mud covered in a layer of salt. There's no vegetation, and all you can see is white and surrounding mountains. The Salt Flats have been featured in many music videos and movies such as Pirates of the Caribbean. I love coming out here and messing around in the salt, whether it's setting up a tramp on the Salt Flats or jumping over my car. Since the salt is completely flat, the world's fastest land record has been set here. If you do go, be cautious about driving on the salt because you can sink your car if the salt isn't dry. When it rains, the Salt Flats become the world's largest mirror. It's truly a surreal place.
1,
Alright, so for our last location, we are going to head over to my favorite place in the world, the Italian Dolomites. So 2 summers ago, I spent 14 days exploring all the beauty that the Dolomites have to offer. And when I say it, I mean it. They are the most beautiful mountains in the world. They're located in northern Italy, and to get there you can fly into Milan or Venice and make the 4-hour drive over to the Dolomites. One of my favorite places is the mountain of Seseda. It has to be one of the most epic mountains in the world. It's so jagged, and the contrast of the green slopes with the rocky peaks make it one of the most unique mountains. You can explore the whole area and you're going to feel like you're walking around in a fairy tale. Such a magical place. Another one of my favorite places is Lago di Bray. It's one of Europe's most famous lakes. It has such a unique color with an incredible backdrop of mountains. When I was there, I hadn't showered in days, so I decided to put on a show and jump into the freezing cold water. I also recommend visiting Tre Cime di Lavaredo. It's home to the iconic Tre Cime, which are these massive 3 rock pillars. I spent several days just exploring the area there. Felt like I was on the set of Lord of the Rings. You gotta go there after this whole coronavirus clears up.